just assume that they're making stuff up, assume that they're dope sick or something like that, and they don't get the medical care that they're supposed to be getting. And it's even a thing where, like, if you're too sick, they'll just kick you on out if you're getting too short, instead of taking you to the hospital so that they're, the ones getting the bill.
So to paraphrase, or to make sure I understand, it's not being operated well, and by giving it to the sheriff's office and bringing that accountability, it would then be operated in maybe a more professional way?
I would assume so, because, you can vote the sheriff out.
Well, you can vote the county commissioners out, too.
Yeah, you can. They're the ones that are the ones that I believe are the ones that voted to take it away from the sheriff to begin with.
But in general, would it be fair to say you just want to see the thing run more professionally?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think there needs to be more accountability there. And I think having an elected official would be conducive to that.
Okay. All right. Anything else on any of your priorities before we move on to some other topics?
Not those three things.
Okay. What else is important to you from the county standpoint? I mean, the county has, we kind of touched on love overwhelming some. Maybe we go back to that a little bit. I mean, what would you like to see happen there at the end of the day going forward? In other words, if you got voted in, what sort of changes would you be advocating for?
I'd like to see, or at least explore how much that we could not be using COG, the Council of Governments.
Okay.
We're paying county commissioners and city elected leaders to do a job, to get all the information and make these decisions, and a lot of the times they just farm it out to COG, pay them a lot of money to do all sorts of things. When I last looked it up, I believe they paid them something like $177,000 to do the shoreline master plan.
I don't know what
that is something that the state mandates down so that you can tell people where they can build on the shoreline. Mm-hmm. And they farmed it out to COG for, I believe, $177,000 instead of just having the people that are already working for the county do it themselves. And when COG does something, they make their decisions. It's basically, that's how they're voting. They're taking COG's word for it. It doesn't matter what citizens come in and say, because there's been plenty of people that come out against love overwhelming. Okay. But that's COG's recommendation, and so good luck getting past anything that they recommend. And they're not elected. It's called the Council of Governments, which makes you think that they are probably elected leaders. It's not the case. It's like the Federal Reserve. They're not ran by the federal government. Yeah. And so I know that I've been told that there's a lot of functions that they can take care of that are cheaper. But the way that they take their word that's what's happening. They rubber stamp everything COG says, and they're not the elected people. I think that we need to take a look at that and see.
So you'd be open to potentially using COG some, but at the same time you would probably be more apt to push back and say, hey, I don't like this aspect of it, or something like that.
Yeah, especially if it ends up saving money to just have the people that are making the votes read the paper themselves.
Okay, good. I don't think most people even understand what the Wahkiakum Council of Governments is.
No, I highly doubt it. When you say it, people are like, what is that? And
have you ever met with them before?
I've met with a few of them individually. I've never gone inside the building. I know that Council of Governments is the one that recommends the Housing First Coalition, and they're the ones that are in charge of Love Overwhelming's grants and stuff. So they're the people that gave Love Overwhelming the coordinated entry, and that's because it was so dangerous. That's why they quit sending the people over to coordinated entry from Community House, and that's how they ended up losing their funding.
So you're on Love Overwhelming again, so I'm going to ask you, what would you be advocating for if you got elected as it relates to Love Overwhelming?
I don't think it's in the right place. I mean, when a business comes in and they send their representatives down to the county to go start filling out permits to, check out this place, to buy property, to build a business, and possibly move families to this area, they got to walk through the Love Overwhelming mess out in the courtyard. Mm-hmm. And it's just not in the right spot. Plus, it's in, an old neighborhood that was really nice. My parents live, 202 North 6, where those big signs are on the hill from
Okay.
Chevron.
Yep.
And when I grew up, there was a meth lab a couple of houses up the street. And so I was used to finding needles thrown in my yard because there's those staircases there. And they would
Yeah.
go down the staircase and toss the needles up in my yard. And it was something.
The old high school staircase you're talking about?
No, the one that was further down the hill.
Okay.
So that was something it was normal to me. I knew what to do with needles when I was a little kid because they tossed them up in my yard. Stopped seeing that after they shut down that house until Overwhelming showed up.
So
And it's just normal now. There's just
let's
rigs
explore that a little
everywhere.
bit, though, because it's kind of a popular thing. So I'm going to push back on you a little bit. It's kind of a popular thing to say, you know what, Love Overwhelming should be moved somewhere else. But under the current zoning system or zoning rules, whatever you want to call them, where are you going to be able to put this thing? Where else is it going to go?
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't have an answer to that. I'm not sure.
If
I
it could
know
have gone
that.
somewhere else, don't you think it would already be there?
No, they could have picked out all sorts of places, but they picked out that place because of the zoning. They snuck in the zoning through the same ones that the emergency support shelter did. And the city tried saying, like, this isn't the same type of shelter at all, which it's not. And they kept on saying, oh, yes, it is. And,
But now that it's there,
yeah, and
aren't
now it's
you kind of stuck?
pretty much, I'm not really positive. I know that they've made
And
a lot of improvements.
And isn't this a city of Kelso issue and not a county issue as to where that's located? I mean, it's in the city of Kelso, and
It's in the
under
city of
their
Kel-
ordinances. So if it's going to be moved,
They made those ordinances to stop overwhelming from happening again because they snuck in underneath that one zoning law with the emergency support shelter.
but it's effectively going to keep them from moving anywhere in Kelso, isn't it?
I believe that I'm not exactly positive what the zoning laws are in Kelso, but I'd imagine that they would have set up some places. I'm pretty sure they didn't make it just nowhere.
I guess my point is it's such a toxic topic or issue.
Like, I know, like, nobody's going to want it. It doesn't
So
matter where
you're
you.
going to stand up there as a county commissioner and go, "Hey, we're moving this joint." Well, how do you think that's going to go over?
Yeah, not very well wherever it
Not
ends
very
up,
well.
but
So what are you going to do? You're the commissioner.
I'm not positive.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really difficult.
tough one.
It is, and like I said, they've made a lot of improvements from when they opened up,
Yep.
and so my buddy Chris rails on them still a lot, but I've moved on since they made a lot of their improvements. Since you're not hearing about all the ridiculous crime that was happening when we were paying attention and pulling the police reports. That kind of thing's just not happening, and they police themselves a lot now. They make sure, like, those people, like, they kick them out. I remember the last time I went down to Stone Soup. As soon as I pulled up, I had a bunch of people that are like, "Hey, there he is. Go grab him." And they're like, "There's somebody over at Overwhelming in the parking lot. And we need him gone." And so I went over there and started talking to the guy, and he was some kind of sex offender, and he wouldn't admit to it, but everybody around was like, "Yeah, he told me last night. Here's what happened." And the guy's reaction was very not what I would think a normal person's reaction to be if somebody came up and said, like, "Why is there all these people wanting you out? They're saying that you're a sex offender. They come grab me of all people to come get you out of here." And he's just like, "I don't know what they're talking about." And he keeps changing his tire. Okay, well, that's not a reaction. Like, I would find out, like, why did you say that about me? Yeah. And so they do a really good job at policing themselves now. They've set up rules in the place.
We see the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I talked to Chief Hamilton. I talked to the fire department. I talked to all these folks. It seems like the number of calls legitimately has gone way down.
Yeah.
The calls for police and for ambulance and stuff.
Yeah, well, you can just tell by when I drive past it all the time. You don't see them all there all the time, like almost. It used to be every time I drove past, almost.
Yeah. Well, they were averaging almost 4 calls a day.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else, as a commissioner, you want to reduce some of the usage of COG and maybe push back on COG? You may or may not try and face down moving Love Overwhelming to a different geographic location. Anything else that you would want to?
Specifically, I'd like to see in the county. So that was about last week. Me and Chris Pornstead at our Liberty on the Rocks event was given a document that talked about a sex offender house being set up out in the Woodlands, or not in the Woodlands, in the Highlands, and it was like literally flanked by houses with small children on both sides of it. They were going to be kicking out a person that lived there for 13 and a half years and moving in, I think it was a 6-offender DOC house and opening it up to sex offenders. And it said on this document the company's name that runs the company and the person who owns it and their phone number. And it talked about how there was 10 days, for public comment. Mm-hmm. And by the time we got it, by the time the person that gave it to us, there was 1 day left. So we went out that day and we blanketed the entire neighborhood, told them what, this person was planning on doing. Go ahead and give him a call and call all the numbers that's on this document and tell them what you think about the situation. Because, here's the DOC. They're the people that call to get it taken care of. But here's specifically the person that's going to be profiting from selling out our neighborhoods and bringing in sex offenders and whatever else DOC is throwing at us. That's pretty repugnant as far as I'm concerned. And we got them to decide not to set that house up because of all the people that reacted to that. And then I was sent a message from somebody from DOC, or that was former DOC, and he talked about how Cowlitz County has absolutely nowhere in the county, not in the county or any of the cities in the counties, has any ordinances that stop these kind of things from happening.
Okay.
And he said in most of Washington State, municipalities have like a 2-offender per house law. And when they get released, they're supposed to be going to their county of origin unless they have laws against it, saying if there's no housing for you, you can't be shacking up, except for in Cowlitz County. We can, stack them 6 deep in a house in the Highlands, and the person's getting $500 a head a month. And so it's completely economical for these people to do this in Cowlitz County. I think that they really need to do it in all the cities in the county, and the county level, put some kind of cap on how many offenders can be living in the same house. So, because he said that DOC knows this, and that's why Cowlitz County is a dumping ground.
Do you, obviously you're well acquainted with this, the sex offender issue is an important issue to you.
Yeah.
So I've looked at the sheriff's sex offender list numerous times, and it's pretty clear that there's a lot of them at sort of
all over the place.
Well, they're all over the place, but there's quite a few that have the same address.
Yeah.
In up here on 11th, we could look at the list online, and there's probably 3 or 4 addresses where there's 6, 7, 8, 10, quite a few of them. I think one of the old hotels there.
Green Gables.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of.
Yeah, he mentioned that in his
Yeah.
in his message.
So you would be looking to kind of disperse all that, or how best? I mean, what I'm wondering, I guess, as a citizen and someone, I have a 16-year-old, so I'm always worried about these sort of, offenders and things like that. I mean, are we better off having 10 of them in the Green Gables, or are we better off having them all over the place?
Well, see, and I've been told by the cops that they'd rather have them be in one place, but what I'm trying to stop from happening is, I'm not necessarily saying the ones that are there now have to go and disperse. I'd also like to see, they have this in other counties, and the offenders would just have to pay for themselves a big, huge red sign on the yard that says, this is a sex offender house. Children don't come here. But stop it from being set up again and again to make it not profitable, and just kill it on the economic side from the companies to do this in Cowlitz County.
Okay, let me push back a little bit, because many businesses won't hire these folks. The Daily News does background checks on all and drug checks on anybody as a prospective employee. Lots of employers do, because you want to know if they've broken the law and what risks you might take. And so it's tough for them to get a job, and where are they going to live without a job, especially if they don't have family? You're not going to rent a house and let these people live there if someone isn't going to pay you a fair